Start it again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're just going to do it this way, all right? There's no fanfare, there's no flash. You know, once in a while there's glamour. I flash you a leg, but at the end of the day, you know, there's only so much time in life and you got to multitask. So this is my way of multitasking. So back to the story with the kids, you know, and me promoting a nonprofit that put me in a category that I didn't even realize I was getting myself into. School meal program. You know, what did I know? I had 5 kids. You know, I was a mom. I wanted to sit at home. Well, I didn't want to sit at home. I had to sit at home because I had the kids. But I wanted to help. That's where I meant to say. I wanted to help, and the only way I felt I could help was to found a foundation that was kind of basically based around building in a school meal program in Canada. And because I had done a lot of reading and research and whatnot on the internet in regards to the United States, and they have a school meal program, but their problems are more in association with school buildings falling apart, which not to say we don't have that here. We have that here too, right? But, you know, in some states, more than 50% of the schools either need to be torn down or restored and rebuilt, you know, like either or. It's like that throughout, you know, whole United States. And, you know, the country is old, so that would be standard. So for me, it was like, okay, well, universal lunch in Canada and school restoration in States. That makes sense. But, you know, anytime I went out in the community and I tried to promote that, people couldn't understand, first of all, why I was trying to invite the United States. You're a Canadian. You just need to deal with your own problems. I said, you're right. We do. And that's what I'm trying to do. But at the end of the day, you know, if we were to ever get a school meal program, I'm sure that the United States, you know, through trade with their cooking, you know, utensils and fridges and stoves and all that other stuff and food and, you know, there's going to be some sort of commerce and activity going back and forth on the border. Now my hands are starting to get hot. I can feel it. And, you know, and if they're going to do that, well, then they should also benefit in terms of having their schools restored. Right? And so, you know, I have to fight with that, with people that, you know, just don't understand. Business, sometimes I'd go to business, I'd ask them to make a donation, and a lot of businesses, you know, and that was, you know, years ago. Now it's even worse with the economy the way it is. It's like in Canada, $1 billion and more, $1 billion more. 1.8 billion, 1.2, it's over $1 billion. Anyway, over $1 billion has been lost through charity donations. So a lot of the organizations that were doing well, you know, say 6 years ago, they themselves are falling through the cracks because the public donation has dropped in Canada by $1.2 billion in the last couple of years. That's a hard hit. You know, so if I couldn't do it then, go to a business and say, well, gee, you know, you want to partner up with my nonprofit and help me bring in a school meal program? It's that much harder to do it today because there's even less money. But that's okay because, you know, things don't happen overnight, and I believe it's going to happen. I think it's just a matter of time. But this is where the community needs to step up. And what I mean by community is the people that live in the community. We already know that the politician holds all the cards. And, you know, I've done a lot of reading it started long before 10 years ago. And my dad, he worked as a janitor. He worked as a janitor for the government. So he told me all their stories. I know their dirty laundry, so I'm not afraid. Because he was a janitor. He used to clean up after them. So basically what I'm saying is they're people like us. And some of the choices that they have to make are hard. And I can appreciate that. You know, and if people want a school meal program, say like us Canadians, then us Canadians as communities, districts, you know, provinces, we need to say, okay, well, what are we going to put into it? We can't just go say, well, here's our hand, feed us. You know, it's like the old saying, you know, give a man a fish and what does that do? Nothing. Teach them how to fish, and he can feed his family for a lifetime. Well, this nonprofit's kind of like teach a man to fish, or a woman, or even children. I have fishing rods. I'm going to take the children fishing. And this is serious stuff because it's affected my whole family. Because at the end of the day, people don't think like that. They're afraid. They want it. If it's offered to them, they'll take it. Some will even steal it. But they don't necessarily think that they should have to work for it. They don't necessarily want to work for it. And then, we don't get it. Plain and simple. We don't get it. And there's not enough of us out there trying to promote it, to educate the ones that don't understand. So it gets even harder. And when everybody's fighting over the same, generic pool of funds from wherever those funds may come, it's a pretty cutthroat industry. And if you did any research on nonprofits, then the ma and pop days are kind of over. It's big business now for a lot of organizations. But this nonprofit, New Foundation for Community Partnerships, it has a universal trademark name attached to it, New Nations Unity. I've had people say, "Oh, well, that must have something to do with natives, First Nation people," and I'm like, "No, not directly. Their children will benefit, but it's not centered around their culture per se, other than they're in Canada, and many of them live in the United States, including Alaska, which is the United States. So New Nations Unity, what it means really, and New-Nations Unity, is countries. Canada and United States. I'm a poor woman, so I got lucky just to get those two. Okay, but it's a universal trademark name. So as part of Mexico is part of the continent. So it's nice to know that maybe one day we can do the things that like meal program in Mexico. That'd be the bomb. That'd be the coolest. That'd be great. But for now, it's Canada and the United States. Two countries coming together to solve our, social issues. In this case, food is a social issue. I work on housing. I work with homeless people. I work with high-risk youth. I've listened to many people and their stories and their problems. And every time I came across one where I thought that maybe I could help, I just add on another trust account. That was my way. And then even then they weren't satisfied. They said, "Well, I got $1. If I give you the $1, but I live here, and then you take that $1 and you go to a different district, then my money is leaving the community." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll solve that problem. We'll just open up a district account. So some of those dollars can actually stay in your district." So I had to always kind of be one step ahead. Now the other thing is, I've never tried to go to the government and ask them to give me money for my nonprofit. I had one person offer me money one time that he got a referral. But at that time, excuse me, I was still determined to try and do it our way, the community's way, because when we do it our way, the community's way, that's when the government will help. For example, after a while of getting so tired of trying to promote a universal school meal program, I kind of got mad. And then I said, well, because at that time I was, people were forwarding me to politicians, and so I had to go because that's where they told me to go. So I'd go. And I don't know, it just didn't really seem to go anywhere. And so finally I said, "Okay, look, just go get $160 million. That's it." Because they told me to write stuff. So I said, "Okay, I'll write." And then I wrote in $160 million times 10 years. Okay, if you go on my website, under my time capsule page, you'll see it. And that's based on just giving each school X amount of dollars to start phasing in, not a snack program, but a school meal program. There is a difference. And I included private schools as well, which I guess in some instances, some people would consider it like a charter school. So, but basically I promote more of a public education. This is a public initiative. So without public education, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. So, you know, there's a lot of necessity for that. So, of course, it's pending. A lot of things are pending. You know, but it's there. They know it, but they're not going to give it to us unless we go out there and earn some of it ourselves first. And that's what the last 10 years have taught me. And I've never gotten once a community grant. I'm not saying that, you know, at some point if somebody else became president and decided to do that from time to time, but ideally our nonprofits should be the ones giving out the grant. So anytime there will be a trust account opened up wherever, in what province or what state, because ideally that's what I'd like to see, because, you know, you can build accountability there, and from there, you know, you can do anything, right? If you need to if you need to tear down the school and build a new one, if you just gave it enough time, it won't be long before there'll be enough money in there. Same thing with the school meal program. I feel the same way. And I listen to people when they say, well, I want my dollar to stay in the community. And I said, okay, well, here, this is what we'll do. We'll open up a trust account just for your community. We got the provincial trust accounts. There's 11 of them. And then for every community that is designated as a district, or in the States it would be considered a county or a parish. Here we call them districts. You know, as soon as the first dollar comes in from that district, the account gets opened. And then from that account, we start building in a meal program and other necessity programs that our community needs, because every community is diverse and every community needs different things. So there's flexibility. That's what I'm trying to say. And I have other things in motion. You know, there's some proposals out there that I'm hoping will go through, and if they do, you know, I think it's going to change. I think that anything I've gone through over the last 10 years plus will be well worth the effort. And but for now, we're going to talk more a little about people taking responsibility for their communities, because if they want their schools repaired, or if they want school meal programs, or if they're worried about the high-risk youth falling through the cracks, or if the Parks Board has a piece of property that could benefit children, you know, I mean, there's just so many things out there. There's so many needs. And we can't expect the government to pay for each and every one of them. And we can't expect other foundations to pay each and every one of them. But what we can do is come together and create our own network, our own funding to match or meet or challenge the next group, so that eventually we can get the things that we want done. And that's why I still have a nonprofit today, and that's why I'm talking to you, because I think that we can do it. I do. I think that we can start a universal meal program here in Canada, and I think that, you know, people are crying for jobs. I think that would be a great way to create jobs. You know, not only in the United States, but it would create jobs in Canada. You know, we want a healthier nation. So what better way than to feed them hot peppers? No. No, what better way than to, you know, make sure that they're getting the right amount of calories in a day, right? And, you know, since being so many children do spend time at school, that would be a good place to start, right? Because when you get home, it's not always there, you know. And that's why I recommend for people not to have too many kids, you know. Don't have sex until they're married, you know. Do their part. People with money, they need to pay attention and listen and realize that poor people can't do it by themselves. We just can't. We don't have the resources. You know, I'm going to be doing some fundraising, hopefully, beginning at the end of February. I'm just waiting for the approval from the owner of the property. Not the company that wants me to do it, but the owner of the property. See, I don't have to just deal with one person. I have to deal with like 3 or 4 at a time sometimes. And from that, you know, there will be some educating of You know, first of all, you know, we can have fun. You know, gotta have fun in life. Life is hard. So let's have a little fun.
Oh, it's 15 minutes.
All right.
Should I shut it off?
Well, yeah, shut it off and then start again.